All right. All right. So I think I finally got it working. I'm sorry, YouTube changed something, and I don't know what, but all the plugins I needed were not there. But you should be able to see me now. You should be able to hear me. It seems like it's picking up my voice and everything. So I'm gonna wait a minute and make sure everyone can see me and hear me. Who knows? Maybe you can't. I'm trying to pull myself up here. But let's see. Let's go on. It says I'm live. When I go to it, let's see if I'm there. I should be there. Go on. It says I'm live. Wait. All right. So again, if you can see me, let me know. Let's stop that one. A lot of craziness happening here. I don't know. It's not showing me. Wow, it's just one big mess up after the next. All right. I don't know if anyone can see me. I can't see myself. So if you can, let me know. This may be a total fail because now I get nothing but blank darkness. Let me type in. Okay, people say they can see me. They can hear me, I'm assuming, too. Can't see you. I can't see myself. Oh, let's see what's going on here. Allow again. I do not know what is going on. I don't know why you can't see me. All right, let's try this. No. Turn it on. That is so weird. Okay. So, trying it again. That is so weird. I do not get it. You should see me now. YouTube just sucks. I'll just go ahead and say it. You can hear me. That's good. That's always good. But can you see me? There you are. Good deal. All right. I'm here. Boy, what a sucky day. No picture? Oh, you know what? There'd be a delay on this. You should be able to see me. If so, I'll start taking your questions now. Sorry, man, oh man. It's like every time I do these, I think I've got it figured out, and then YouTube throws a curveball at me. There's something about, oh, you need, or you're blocking. My computer is now blocking their new whatever upgrade. So I had to keep saying, no, I still have it, or whatnot, or allow it. And I've had to say that like 4 times now on the computer. But I think if you can see me, someone let me know. This is why I hate doing live hangouts a lot of times, because everyone who does a live hangout, the first, 2 minutes or so, or definitely the first 30 seconds to a minute, is all the can you see me, can you hear me, and stuff like that, and it takes away good time from our Q&A. Now, I'm not seeing, let me see if I can get something here. What? I'm going to have to pause because I don't know if anyone can see me. I may have to, guys, we may have to just call this a night. Doesn't look to be my night. Doesn't look like anyone can see me or hear me. Let's see. Let's go over here. Okay. All right, we can hear you. Good. Here we go. All right, finally. Just fast forward to the past 3 minutes of this conversation here. All right, let's see. What? Oh, look at this. Everyone's here. All right. All right, so let's get to some of those questions now, if we have questions. How am I feeling about the EU movement, and where should it go from here? You know, this is a question that I have gotten a lot recently. Celebrating the billboard, right? Everyone's like, okay, Matt, what's next? Okay, what's next is that we continue to keep up this great, I don't know, this positiveness that we got going on. We got a lot going on for us right now. There is buzz, there is talk, you know, at Lucasfilm. I don't know how much, I don't know what's going on, but I know it did turn some head at Lucasfilm, and it got maybe a few people talking. I don't know if they're going to instantly give us the expanded universe. I hear that there are some authors, you know, who are going to Lucasfilm with ideas. Of course, that's just rumor. I don't know who to believe on that. But I would like to think that more Star Wars is good for everyone, and that we put up that billboard. That made a big, big difference. And that told Lucasfilm, hey, look, these people are serious. They're about spending money. And to be honest, it's opened up the question in a lot of articles, hey, why not have 2 alternate universes? Heck, everyone has it, and if it just stays in the books, it won't be confusing. And these people who say, well, it's confusing if you have 2 storylines. No, it's not. Folks, check your local bookstore. Right now, you have Legends novels with regular Star Wars novels, the new canon novels, right? No one's getting confused over that. Fans are a lot smarter than that, and I think more stories out of anything would be great. If they want to come up with a little blurb on the flap and say, this is Legends, this is an alternate timeline, not to be confused with the new stuff. They can do that, that's fine, but they don't have to, because right now you have Legends sitting side by side with the other stuff, and no one's confused. So what do we do from here? Well, the billboard's still going up, still celebrate that. You know, just keep that positiveness going. You know, keep our petitions heard. Anyone who's at Comic-Cons, be polite. If you find Lucasfilm people there, tell them, say, yeah, really like what you're doing, you know, or really love Star Wars, your life story, and tell them, yeah, I really hope you do bring the EU back. Saw the billboard, look great, and I agree with those guys. You know, you may be one of those guys, but you definitely agree with them. Because I think if Lucasfilm sees enough people out there that they will make a change. So as for where do we go from here, well, we need to hold up. Because right now we have a billboard up, and it's really great. I'm glad everyone's motivated. I know you're like, Matt, let's go get another billboard. Sure. Maybe next year, that'd be funny. Like, dear Lucasfilm, we're still here. Give us Legends, you know. But I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things we can be doing. Like, just trying to be positive is a thing on the internet and whatnot. And another thing, don't give up hope. A few people are like, oh man, it's just, what if Star Wars came back and it was written by these new authors who, you know, some people really don't like. To be honest, I think they would go with the old, you know, hand of authors who wrote the original stuff. I would think they would, since they know more about it than the other newer authors. And I think it's great that newer authors for the new stuff. I think they should. But for the older authors to take back over the old series, they'd be great. They'd also have more freedom on where to go with the storyline, right? Now that they're an alternate universe, they can give an explanation for Yoda's past, for, you know, what his line was, for, I can't remember if there's anything else off limits besides Yoda's past back then. But they can explore all this stuff. Now, true, it's not the canon, but it's in the Legends universe. If that's the canon, then that's great. You know, you don't have to have things match up at all. In fact, I think that would be awesome if they could just go off and maybe show the end of all the main characters. Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie. Well, already Chewie, right? But I think it'd be awesome if they could show, you know, whatever happened to them. Make the connection from that to Legacy, the comic series. I think that would be awesome. And then, as I've said before in my Matt's Expanded Universe, there's tons of other stories they could explore besides the main characters. When I say main characters, I'm talking about Luke, Han, and Leia. And Lando, because I love Lando. And they could do a lot more Lando stories. That's one thing they could do. I love Lando. But I think that there's tons of stories out there to tell. In the old Expanded Universe, they don't have to be scared about jumping on movies or, you know, stepping on the toes of other material out there, because the Expanded Universe is going to be finite now. It's great that there's no new movies coming out of it. Matt, don't you want to see a Heir to the Empire, movie? No, not really, because all those characters are old, and I don't want people, new movie people playing that. And plus, let the new canon have the new movies. Honestly, I think it's good for them. And then the old canon is just set with comic books and books. Novels. I would be happy with that, to be honest. So probably rambled on a little bit more than we wanted to, but let's see. Oh, I'm already behind. Let's see. Sam says, I remember you saying in your video about canon 2 years ago that you would take out the Clone Wars TV show and let Disney have it in your canon. Now, actually, I don't know. I don't know what the context was of that, but no, that's incorrect. Clone Wars is part of the both canons, just like the 6 movies are. And I was saying, if they want that Clone Wars series, I may have jokingly. Yeah, I probably did. But meant jokingly. No, I'll be reviewing, and I've already reviewed the Clone Wars TV show. I'll be reviewing the Clone Wars comic books and whatnot, stuff that's from the TV shows, mainly just the comics, I think. But I will talk about those. No, those are part of the Legends universe as well. Just the 6 movies are part of the Legends universe. So is Dave Filoni's Clone Wars. Not my favorite. Like I said, 50% is all right, but no, it's still part of the canon for me. I just want the Legends timeline to be completed as well. Let's see. 2 or 3 novels a year, Frank, would be great. Would be great. And to be honest, I would love if they just did. Like I said, a Legends tab on StarWars.com would be good for me. If they just gave us a few chapters every week or whatever of a new novel, or a bunch of short stories here or there, or even let the fans submit stories, outside the main storyline, and just give us stories like every day, like they're always refreshing it. I think that'd be huge, and I guarantee you it would be StarWars.com's biggest hits on that Legends tab if they were to give it. Because mainly the people who read Legends, they're the people who were checking StarWars.com for the short fiction out there in the first place. So that would be another excellent way. If they gave us a printed book, 2 or 3 a year, that'd be great. If they gave us 1 a year, which I heard they were thinking about, 1 a year, great. But then make the rest of it in ebook format. Make unlimited ebook format of Legends. That'd be awesome. Like I said, I just think there's so much potential they could have that wouldn't really damage the franchise. All this stuff about, they would just confuse it. No. Name a franchise that doesn't have an alternate universe? There's none. Okay? They all do if they're big enough. Things like small like Firefly, of course it's not going to have an alternate universe yet. But if it ever got big, then yeah, they would make alternate universe stories. Everyone's got to have it. You always want to know the what if, right? That's always fun. Well, here's a what if that's been established in canon for 35 years. I mean, there's so much potential there. Anyway. Well, Mod, you're always going to find people say the EU was never canon, but they don't know. I mean, I just roll my eyes now at them because obviously they haven't done their study. Brendan, if we could go back in time, if I could go back in time, what would I do? Would I try to find George and try to convince him? Because it was the fans who were sour about him and his changes to the original trilogy and the prequels. That's what ticked him off. And that's why he got frustrated with it. In fact, I did a video of this years ago. It's one of my earlier videos where I actually show you evidence of interviews of George Lucas. It was during Red Tails. It was in February of 2012, before he sold in October. And when they asked, any more Star Wars movies? He said, no. Why would I make Star Wars movies if people think I'm a jerk? And you could tell he was just like sick of Star Wars because people could hide magazines, bad reviews from George, but they couldn't hide the internet from him. So he had this grand idea of himself, and he looked online. Here's people hating on him, calling him awful for the changes he made in the original trilogy or the prequels and everything. Because, by the way, folks, back in the day, you could make fun of George Lucas and the prequels, and no Star Wars fan would get upset with you. Make fun of a Star Wars author, and everyone goes crazy. Weird. Anyway, let's see. Matt, we can't send a Terminator back to destroy anyone. West End Games of Wizard of the Coast. Definitely West End Games. West End Games, how about this one? West End Games or Fantasy Flight? I would say West End Games. I love Fantasy Flight. I love a lot what they did, especially the earlier stuff was really good. And I can't thank them enough for what they did. The Clone Wars, you know, what was it called? The thing they kind of, redacted, or not really. They kind of changed the Clone Wars, said, hey, it's been dabbled in. Dave Filoni's Clone Wars isn't all truth. Compnor got their hands on it, and some things aren't so true. So I love how they did that. They kind of just basically smoothed over a lot of the crevices with that one line. So I like what Fantasy Flight did. But on a standpoint of whose stories, whose gameplay is best, it's West End Games, hands down. I have all West End Game material. I love it. It's very creative, very, very imaginative. And folks, if you don't know characters like Platt O'Keefe, I mean, you're doing yourself a disservice, because West End Games really, I'm serious, really had it all. And I mean, I'll be eventually reviewing some of the adventure journals. That was such a smart idea. West End Games was so smart. And when I did that video a few weeks ago about, you know, look at what they talked about by delivering stories and the quality, the high standards they had back then. And I just read that article. I was like, it makes perfect sense, because West End Games is just a great company that makes great, great, great books. Anyway, I love West End Games. Can't talk too much about it. Let's see. Do you think they'll make an Obi-Wan movie? Who knows? Young Obi-Wan, probably. I don't know. Ewan McGregor said he'd come back from one. I don't know. How do I feel about the new Han Solo? I loved the quote, and I said this in the podcast. And by the way, Prince of the Universe, this table was squeaking, and we didn't know it. And so that podcast is so bad, because all you can hear is like wick, 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 wick of the test squeaking. I'm so sorry. So I'll just kind of skip over and kind of tell you what I said. Washington Post had an article, and they were like, just like, oh, they thought the new Disney would be great, and now they're just not excited over it, because they said there was already a young Han Solo. It was called Star Wars, A New Hope, which I thought was really funny. The Washington Post would write something like that. Would you mind an online animated series based on the New Jedi Order? Whoa. Do I mind a little bit of awesome in my coffee every morning? Yeah. Heck yeah. I think a New Jedi Order animated series would be really awesome. You could get Jenny Tartakovsky to do it. I think that'd be awesome, or anyone, honestly. I think that's a great story. Would they go with an animated? I don't know. Like, if Legends really took off, I mean really took off and got super popular like it was back in the day, but they could see that it kept people's interest. And you know what, folks? There's actually more people who are interested in the EU now than I think there were before. Because now people are saying, what's this expanded universe all about? Why are these fans so up about it? I can't tell you how many emails I get a week of people telling me, you know what, I didn't know about the expanded universe, but I watched your channel, or I heard about all this, you know, news about the expanded universe, and what is this? I started reading a few books, and it's great. I think we have more fans now than ever before. And if Lucasfilm started putting out the content and it starts sounding like wildfire, man, I bet, I don't have a doubt, they would maybe entertain an animated series. But for now, I'm fine with comics, novels, and maybe some online stuff. Should I watch the TV show? Sure. It's Survivor. It comes on Wednesdays. It's great. Have you read Heart of the Jedi? Have I read Heart of the Jedi? I don't know if I should show you this. Yes, I've read Heart of the Jedi. I even have a hardback copy of it. Yeah, these are kind of hard to get if you didn't order them at the very beginning. But yeah, Heart of the Jedi. You know what? I don't know if I'll be doing a Matt's Expanded Universe review on it, since it is an unpublished novel, but it does fit into the canon. So what do you think? Should I eventually, in the years when I get around to it, should I do a review of Heart of the Jedi? Because I got a lot to say about it. Well, I said a lot of stuff on the podcast, but I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. Should I watch Filoni's Clone Wars? The idea of Compton altering the files. Oh, Filoni's Clone Wars. I guess. I know I kind of poop on that show a lot, but to be honest, 50% of it was really good stuff. And the other 50% was a headache. It was a headache. And by the way, Bruce didn't say something on this week's Prince of the Universe podcast. He told me after the show ended, and I was like, no, we totally are going to have the story that he told. He tells me there's a great story he's got. I'm building it up too much. But in 2 weeks when we do the, episode 44 now, he's going to tell that story. I'm going to make him tell that story. It's fantastic. It's about rebels. It's so funny. It's what one of his kids told him. All right. Let's see. X-Wing books are really good. So what do you think about Boba Fett surviving now being canon? Is it official? I know the game hinted at it, but is the game... That's the thing I don't understand. Are video games really canon in the new universe? Because I don't see how they can be. I think video games should always be secondary canon. If they bring him back, it wouldn't be surprising because, you know, he's so popular. It is funny that they, you know, got rid of the expanded universe, essentially killing off Boba Fett, right? And we're like, oh, well, we'll bring him back because he's really cool. You know. Fantasy Flight is convoluted. But you know what? I haven't played Fantasy Flight, so I guess I shouldn't say that. I'm just saying, on an imaginary standpoint, what was the one they talked about? Far Horizons, where it talks about settlers going to different planets. I was like, wow, that's so interesting. You could do a Star Wars story about people settling on a planet. That's why I like Fantasy Flight, because they came up with different ideas. Now, I've never done the gameplay yet, so could be right on that. I still am going to pick West End Games because I hear they're the best. I've read all their stuff. I think they're the best. What are your top 300 Jar Jar moments? Can I pick none of the above? Actually trying to put together a D20 Star Wars game set after Jedi Academy. Whew, that does sound fun. I haven't seen a video, Goku, about the Star Wars prequels being secretly good. I've read some articles in the past about how, looking back on them, they're not so bad. I don't really hate the prequels. I think the original trilogy is better. And I do have problems with the prequels. I think some things should have been done differently. Like, I think George should have just created the idea, let someone massage the script out, and then let other people guest direct, like he originally was going to do. He was going to let other people direct the prequels. And I think if you would have seen that, it would have been different movies, and they would have been much better. And he wouldn't have gotten as much flack as he did for trying to direct and write at the same time. I think Lucas was just behind the times at that point. And I also blame the two of the directors he wanted to do it, Steven Spielberg and Ron Howard, who he had eventually asked them to do episodes 2 and 3 or whatnot, or 1, 2, and 3. And they're like, no, George, you do it. No. George should have let that, just like Empire and Jedi were great with George's influence. I think Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith would have been great if he would have had that kind of, he could still go in there and do the artistic stuff. I think artistically it looked really nice. But he should let someone else, hammer out the script and record, direct. And I think it would have been much better because the actors he got, I would even keep all the same actors. Yes, even Jake Lloyd, even Hayden Christensen. I think he was good in other stuff. But they got great actors. George just didn't, he was just out of his element at that point. If he would have gone back to how he was in Empire and Jedi, I think the prequels would have been great. It's probably not the answer you wanted, but that's the one you got. The Star Wars Rebellion board game, I have not. I do not have the Star Wars Rebellion board game. I've heard nothing but good things. I did get a board game, an older board game of Star Wars, and I will be reviewing it maybe it's going to be a while. We've played it a few times, and it's pretty fun. and I'll review it. It's an older game, but it's actually my favorite Star Wars board game right now. A lot of the newer stuff I probably won't play. Nothing against it. I hear whatever the Empire is and the Rebellion stuff, I hear that's really good. I hear Armada is fantastic. A friend of mine plays it all the time. He's playing it right now instead of watching this live Q&A. And then X-Wing, I hear, is really good. So I hear they're coming out with home runs. Someone told me Star Wars Risk. I hear a lot of reviews of Star Wars Risk. It's not Risk. It's something different, and they say it's really awesome. Whatever by Star Wars Risk, I don't know. I don't know. It has that ugly Episode 7 cover on it. And someone said, you know, that's stupid that they have Episode 7 on there because it's not an Episode 7 game. It's a Return of the Jedi game. I wish they made it more Return of the Jedi. Would I still have bought it? I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air because I've seen the reviews for it. It looks okay. I don't know. But if someone had it, I'd play it. I'd check it out. All right. Let's see. The easiest way to sort out the timeline for comics, because you don't know where they go, especially Clone Wars era comics and novels. Whew, Dark Novia. I'm trying to help you, brother. I'm trying to help you, but I agree. There is no source. Now, everyone who has sent me links, and Matt, here it is. Here's all the Clone Wars timeline. Here it is, all the Clone Wars timeline. Folks, I see these timelines. Have you ever noticed none of them match up? None of them, absolutely none of them are the same. And some of them are missing. Some of the web strips for sure are out of there. There were some short stories I noticed were missing. There's something else too. I can't remember. Oh, online comic books. Some of the online comic books are missing from all of those. And so I'm trying to do my best, Dark Novia, but as best I know how. I'd be the closest. Now I'm getting ahead of myself here, but once I finish all these videos, whenever that happens, if I'm still alive, I do want to put out a finite timeline that you can see and look at each one of them. But I'm trying to run through Clone Wars. I hear your pain, because the thing what makes Clone Wars hard is because there was an established timeline that had to be readjusted when Dave Filoni's Clone Wars came in. And so now all the books got scrunched to the side and people put the missing pieces here, and here. And that's what's the big deal about Clone Wars. You know, like I said, book-wise, Pablo did a great job in his book. There is nothing comic book-wise out there, especially comic books mixed with books, which would be awesome. And like I said, I think that's why I'm thinking the first person actually going through it and trudging through it. Now, people have done it online, but I don't think they have the web strips. I haven't seen the web strips on there, or the exclusive web comic books, or I wish I knew what that other one was. There was a short story that I never saw in any of them. But anyway, in fact, some tales were missing, I think, on a few of those that I looked to. Anyway, though, so hopefully my videos will help you out. Let's see. Top 5 mothers in the EU. Don't even mention SME. Mothers? Oh, because it's Mother's Day? That's a nice question. Top 5 mothers in the EU. Leia can't be one, right? Because she's not in the EU. Oh, gosh. Who's a mother? You got all the... I don't know. That's weird. I'm trying to think second generation. Who would that be? Tundra Calrissian? I don't know. That's a great question. Marge 8, all right, she's a mother. I don't know. Great, you stumped me. I never thought about mothers in the EU. We need more mothers in the EU, right? Let's see. What are the special edition changes you don't like? Han shooting first, right? I'll tell you what I do like. How about this? I'll tell you what I do like. I like the new Death Star exploding. I like some of the enhanced, explosions and special effects. I love Han Solo in A New Hope charging down after the stormtroopers and then turning around. There's a whole bay of stormtroopers. I thought that was great when I first saw it. Jabba's palace scene was a little forced. I don't know. The Wampa stuff was really good though. I actually enjoyed that stuff. So there's a lot of stuff in the special editions I didn't mind as much. Han shooting first, it just looked bad, right? The CGI when he's going, it kind of yanked him. It just looked bad, looked cheesy. The Jabba the Hutt scene, I really didn't mind. Oh, Jabba's all thin. Well, it happened a few years later, and he got his weight back on after 3 years later. So I don't think that's too bad. Well, Matt, he kind of steps on Jabba's tail, kind of pulls him around. Well, maybe Jabba's not at that position at this point. I don't know. Anyway, the Star Wars novel actually explains that scene a little differently. Let's see. If Lucasfilm approached me to write a trilogy of ebooks, what would you write about? Great question. Like I've said before, it would definitely be something that happened after Crucible. I would want to know what happened after Crucible. Be Store of the Jedi-like. It tie in a few stories. I would go with Troy Denning's idea about having the Chiss and the Anzadi fight. I thought that was really cool. Maybe digging into both of their histories a little bit more. Who would I have write it? If Timothy Zahn does not want to write, no, I'd have Troy Denning write it. Never mind. What am I saying? Troy Denning. I'd have Denning write it. I think Troy Denning does excellent stuff. He's a great guy. And that would be the trilogy. If I could have more than a trilogy, I would continue making them. I love the main, what I call the main storyline of Luke, Han, and Leia. So I would continue that definitely. What else would get love? Rebellion era would not get love because it's too crowded. Neither would the Clone Wars for the same reasons, too crowded. You would definitely have some young Qui-Gon Jinn. Young Qui-Gon Jinn and Count Dooku. That's I would want to see that. I would want, of course, more Sith history. Who doesn't want more Sith, right? Darth Zana. Drew Karpyshyn would do me a Darth Zana novel. That would definitely happen. Looking around, do I want any New Republic stories? No, I think I'm pretty happy with New Republic. But yeah, those would be a few eras I would explore. Would I explore some Old Republic stuff again? Sure, yeah, that too. But there's so much to explore. So much to explore. Definitely an Ewok trilogy. Okay. There is a fan on Facebook making a mural of any Star Wars fan holding an EU book. So far, there are about 80 people want to participate. Where is he making the mural? Is he just making it online? Is he painting it? Is it just a bunch of pictures of people? I don't know. I mean, I guess it seems fun. Let's see. Do you have a complete tour? Yes, I actually do, George. It's called Matt's Expanded Universe Behind the Scenes. Look at my playlist for Matt's Expanded Universe. It's called Behind the Scenes, where I take you all around the room. The room has changed a lot. If you saw in some of my videos, I have a big board game shelf now. It's like packed with board games. I even got a few more in today. I'm gonna stop. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think I've got any new books besides Heart of the Jedi, but I do a slower tour through those. And maybe when it's all said and done, we'll do another one. I don't know. But I haven't added that much to it because there's not much more that's come out. Brian says, is the game Queen's Gambit? No, Brian, it isn't. You have that dadgum game for now. But I'm coming for you, brother. I'm coming next week. And maybe you'll be a friend and give me Queen's Gambit. I can't pay that much online. It's not worth that much online. But, Brian, I want to play Queen's Gambit when I come. Well, I basically eliminated. I'll tell you. It's Star Wars Duels. Duels. Fun game. Let's see. Have I watched Captain America Civil War yet? No, I'll go tomorrow. I'll give my thoughts on Saturday morning Samoflange. Not this upcoming episode, but the next one. I will. I'll give my thoughts on it too. Frank, Clone Wars wasn't the best. My favorite lesser-known EU authors. Kathy Tyers, definitely. Kathy Tyers, I would write one. That's a great question. Who didn't get love? Kathy Tyers would definitely be on my list. I love Kathy Tyers. I would give Barbara Hamley a second chance. Michael P. Q. McDowell, definitely he would be one. I also liked Roger McBride Allen, who wrote the Aurelian Trilogy. That was a good one. I would let them write something. I would let Kenneth C. Flint write something because I appreciate him bringing out that book to the fans. Greg Keyes is all right. He'd be fine. What's his name? I know, not Steve Perry, but Michael Reeves. I would definitely have Michael Reeves write something too. I thought he was really good. So yeah, I would definitely. There's a lot of authors out there, and probably Jude Watson. Well, Dave Wolverton, who only really wrote one novel. I would definitely bring him back. He would definitely come back. Yeah. So great question. Let's see. Would the prequels have been better if they had used Spartan cylinders as a basis? Ooh. Yes, I think they would have. There's an explanation for that in the expanded universe. Of course, they retconned it. But yeah, if they would have followed more tropes from the expanded universe, I think it would have been nice. I think it would have been great. Now George wanted to do his own thing, and he had the right. That was always part of the deal, right? He has the right to do whatever he wants with the storyline. But yeah, I think that would have been a better story from what we saw from Dark Empire. Is Yub Nub on a holiday? Any news about his whereabouts? Well, as you know, Yub Nub is still hitting the beach. But I don't know. Maybe, just maybe, he'll be coming back. Where's my younger Ewok at? Who, Lurdo? He's hanging out with me. Woohoo! Love this guy. The missus got me for him a while back. She saw him. She said, "Do you want anything?" I said, "No." She went, "Do you want this?" I went, "Yes, I do." So I like, yeah, he's smiling. By the way, Lurdo means like idiot in Ewok language. So it's kind of mean that I called him Lurdo, but my little idiot. I love him. Oh, Tenelcom, Mirax. Oh, yeah. Of course. They were their mother too. That's right. Do I ever listen to the Star Wars Legends podcast? And if so, why do you think Jeremy uses it to talk about the new canon? That's a great question. I have listened to it before, but I almost had to stop because it's all about new canons, but it's called Legends. That's so weird. I don't know. And is his name Jeremy? I thought it was Judas. I love the original ending of Return of the Jedi. Thank you for mentioning that. I like the Ewok music better. The celebration going on and all the plants and everything, the firecrackers going off, I love what Kevin J. Anderson said happened after Palpatine's statue came crashing down. That was good. But no, I like the Ewok ending better. Of course I like the Ewok ending better. Star Wars Obsession is a comic book. All comic books were excluded from the Reader's Companion. If the Legends universe were to continue, how far do you think it should go in the timeline? Ooh, Dark Novia. I am just cranky when it comes to timeline. I don't want them going too far. Legacy was far enough for me. They could wrap that Legacy comic book, that last one, with what was it, Ania Solo. They could do something with her, but I think that's as far back as I would like to go. And Dawn of the Jedi. Ugh. Yeah, I guess I would want them to explore that more, just because I want to get, the some of the answers that they put in the comic book. So they could go that far back. But if we skip Dawn of the Jedi, it wouldn't be totally missed. But I wouldn't want them to go any further than Legacy. I think once they get that stopping point, there's tons of other eras to talk about. And yeah, it would be sad because that's the main storyline, the storyline that I care about, right? But I would also say, okay, let's cap it off here and let's get to some other stories. Because the thing about Star Wars, it's just 25,000 years, right? There's tons of opportunity for great storytelling. Let's see what else we have. This is a lot easier. I have this on an iPad now, so I'm able to look this over. What would I think if in the future they turn some EU stuff into animated features? Well, like I said, I think it'd be nice. You know, New Joe Order, cool. Heir to the Empire trilogy, cool. You know, stuff like that. What's the other one? Deathers, cool. I'm talking. I want some R-rated Killing Joke stuff on animated features. I want Warner Brothers to do my animated features. That's what I want. I don't want whoever Marvel uses for their animated features. Brendan asked, who do I think made the call to kill the EU and why? Well, remember, Brendan, I talked about this in a video, that, I mean, it does make more sense that it was Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm instead of Bob Iger. So it was their decision. That's the fence I'm on right now. It could flip over, who knows? But I think that was the decision. Now, who particularly? I don't know. But then again, to me, it doesn't matter. The question that should be asked is, who's going to bring it back? That's what I want to know. I'm not going to dwell anymore on who's at fault here. It's done. It's over. Who's going to bring it back? That's the question. Have you read the new Marvel comic? They're pretty actually good. I don't read any of the new Marvel stuff. I'm kind of out of comic books completely. Check out Prince of the Universe. I actually talk about that. Have you watched Daredevil season 2 on Netflix yet? It's slow going, not because it's bad, just because I am really crunched for time here, folks. I mean, with remember, I got that dinner theater going, which they actually moved to the main stage. We're actually going to be on the main stage, and the missus who's helping me direct, she's directing it actually. She told me it looks so good. It should be just a stage. It shouldn't be dinner theater. It should be a stage play, which I was really proud of. Of course, I wrote it, so I think it's good. But there's a lot of good humor in it. I think it's going to be really awesome. And I'm devoting a lot of time to that right now. So, and then I'm trying to get the videos out, trying to do editing, and I'm trying to do all this. And TV is like, it's always been last on my list, but it's like dead last now. And we enjoy it. I want to say we're more than halfway through now. But so far, so good. Love The Punisher. Elektra, not so much. But the jury's still out on Elektra. I don't know yet. Are there any stories you think were better as a comic than a novel? No. That's a great question, but no. I know a lot of people love the comic books. In fact, Heir to the Empire, people love that comic book series. And yes, it's nice to see the visual. But to me, a novel gives you your own visual. I mean, to be honest, we have our own ideas of how certain characters look, right? We do. And when you actually get to see them, you're like, oh, that's not exactly how I imagined Boris Fila to look like. I remember that was one of the ones I was like, is that Boris Fila? Really? It doesn't look as cool as I remember him in my mind. So for me, no. Now, for other people, they would say yes. And I'm sure on a few of these. And that's not dissing the comic books. I love the comic books. By the way, someone asked me, have I talked to Rich Hanley about when the second book, Galaxy Far, Far Away, the comic book, the book about comic books is coming out? I don't know, folks. Last I talked to Rich was a few months ago. He had finished editing it and sent it off. So it should be coming out soon. And like I said, I haven't heard from him yet, but he's a really busy man. But when he does get back to me and lets me know, that will be on a weekly rundown. I guarantee you I'll get that news to you. Yeah, I did notice the Stormtrooper crowd surfing at the end of Return of the Jedi Special Edition. Funny. It's funny. Would you join the Colliders Videos Jedi Council for a video? I mean, sure, if they invited me, but I don't think they would. I don't know why they would. But yeah, sure. Sure, I've talked on several podcasts before and other stuff, so yeah, I don't mind. But I don't, folks. I don't think I'm that big of a name though in the Star Wars fandom. I've got you guys, but I think I'm that big of a name for people to notice. But maybe after the billboard, they'll notice me now for the wrong reasons, right? Chuck knows who I am. Wendig will interview me. Awesome if me and Chucky were on the same. Ooh, I'll have to see if I can get that together sometime. That'd be so awesome if when I get to meet him, if he just says, "Hey, aren't you the guy who?" Yeah, it's me. Let's see. If they ended the Legacy series like Chronicles of Narnia: The Last Battle, woo! That's a great book. Yeah, I need to read those Narnia books again. I read them just a few years ago, but I want to read them again. They're so good. Kathleen Kennedy saying she wants more female leads in Star Wars. What I think of her saying that. There's already, I think she needs to read a book. That's what I would tell Kathleen Kennedy. Read a book. Because she needs more female leads. You know why? Because she just decanonized all the female leads from all the expanded universe. Expanded Universe has promoted strong women for such a long time. And I'm going to tell you this. This came from my friend who got me into Star Wars books. She's a Star Trek fan. She got me into Star Wars books by accident. But anyway, I've told that story on one of my videos. Star Wars from Expanded Universe from beginning to end. So she actually told me last week, she went, you know what? I am sick and tired of strong female leads. Like every woman has to be just strong and has to know everything and do everything. Can we just have one woman who just acts like a lady and just wants a man to do his job, be chivalrous toward him? I was like, oh, it's weird coming from a woman to hear that. But that's what she was saying. She was saying, it's great to have strong female leads, but she's like, every female movies have to be strong. They have to be strong. They can't portray any weakness. Why not? Men, they have men that portray weaknesses all the time, but you can't make a female weak. Why anymore? She said, I think we're being typecast. It was interesting. She should write something. Maybe I should get together with her about doing a video. That would be awesome. The person who got me into the Expanded Universe. I may ask her. That's not a bad idea. I never played Galaxies, Star Wars Galaxies. I just never had the time for those MMOs, but a lot of people did like it. Some people hated it. Some people loved it. But I definitely would have if I would have had the time. I'm going a little bit over because I started a little bit late. So let's see. What do I think about the change from Sebastian Shaw to Hayden Christensen and those? No. I hated that, actually. Sebastian Shaw should have got his dues on Return of the Jedi. That you overwrite someone. Now I know what he was thinking. It's like, well, I want the new Anakin Solo in there. Yeah, but you didn't overcast Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. Back when he wasn't a fallen Jedi. So no, I did not like Hayden Christensen as a ghost in the back. That's another big one I did not like. Thanks for reminding me on that. How different do you think the rest of the time I would have been at Anakin Solo, been the one who saw I said Jason? How different do I think would the timeline have been if Jason would have died than Anakin? Well, definitely different. You wouldn't have had Legacy of the Force. Tahiri and Anakin would have, of course, hooked up. But you know what? I think people may hate me for this. I think Anakin dying was a good thing. I mean, if you look and see where the story went from there, I think that was a good move. I'm glad George intervened there and made that decision. Do I think people will burn out on Disney Wars? Definitely. If it's coming out every year, you'll see less and less hype. Remember what I said. After Episode 9, that's when you're going to hear people being more like, oh, another one. Oh, they're going to be more critical of it because it's gotten old. Like, people are somewhat critical of, you know, some of the Marvel movies, like, oh, Ant-Man didn't live up to snuff, or, you know, oh, this one was okay. It wasn't as good as this, or that Avengers movie wasn't as good. So I think you're going to see this, but it's going to be after episode 9. I think right now everyone's going to be happy with it. But after episode 9, people are going to be like, oh, another one? We'll see, though. Who knows? I may be wrong. Oh, I think John Ostrander is fantastic. If you got to meet him, I'd love to meet John Ostrander. Ooh, he'd be great. Fan and author, hash it out at convention. Woo, that'd be nice. Fan and author, go out for tacos. That would be funny. How funny would it be if I made a video with him? I'm gonna try. No promises. No promises, but I'm gonna try. Oh, I'd love that. Let's see. Collider would never have me. Let's be honest, folks. Collider would never have me on their show. Why did I not read Han Solo or Lando before that? Because I just didn't know. I didn't care about the Star Wars books back then. To me, the Star Wars books weren't going to be anything equal to what the movies were, in my opinion, until someone got me Heir to the Empire. I decided to read it. Now, I eventually read Han Solo and Lando's books and loved them, but it was Heir to the Empire. In fact, the first thing I think I ever read was a Marvel comic book back in the day. But you remember, there weren't any comic book shops, so, and it wasn't issue number 1. I was like, oh, I'm in the middle of a story. What's going on? I wish I could read more, but you know, if you couldn't find them at the drugstore or at your buddy's house who'd been collecting them for years, which, by the way, you didn't take care of comic books because no one knew there were going to be money. That's why baseball cards and comic books are worth so much. Well, comic books now, baseball cards kind of lost their value a little bit. But that's because no one cared about them and they threw them away. Anyway, yeah, I love those books. It's just that I didn't really care about any Star Wars expanded universe stuff until someone gave me Heir to the Empire. Do I think Lucas feels as ostracized and pushed out as EU fans feel? You know what? I think he does. I think he does. You can see a little bit of, you know, seller's remorse with him. I think you do. Obviously, with the white slavers comment, right? Let's see. Do you ever get those Hungarian Star Wars books translated? No. Here's the deal. I tried to throw them through some like Google Translator, and they pop up exactly how they're pronounced, which is somewhat backwards. And then you try to rearrange it back and forth, and then you find out the story just isn't going to be that good ever. If it got translated, just wouldn't. The pacing would be off, just translation. I mean, you could get a good author to take that premise and massage it through, but that would be a whole lot of work on who has more time on their hands than I do. And it's sad because I would, like I said, I read a little bit, the opening. I think I got the first chapter or most of it done. And, you know, it was interesting to kind of hash out and read, but overall, it probably won't happen. That's kind of sad. Do I think Disney Wars will be less profitable for them? I mean, Star Wars as a franchise is always going to be popular. It's always going to be popular. But would it be less? No, I think the money machine's always going to be there because it's Star Wars. They may not be making as much money. You look at Batman and Superman, right? The movie made 800 million. Not as much as they hoped it would. They were hoping it would crack $1 billion, right? They thought it was going to be $1 billion movie. Now they're only off by, shoot, what, 150 million? So they can't be that upset. But they could have made more money. And I think that's what Disney's going to see. They're going to see them making tons of money, but not as much as they wanted to. So I still think it'll make money, just not as much as they want to. Oh, let's see. How much time do I have left? I'm going to take up just a few more questions. We'll wrap it up. Oh, a lot more questions here. What sci-fi franchise would I recommend to replace for people leaving the Star Wars community? That is so hard because there's nothing that can replace Star Wars, right? There's literally nothing that has this amount of just great stuff to read. Star Trek is kind of all over the place. I couldn't recommend that. I could recommend certain Star Trek books, but what would be good? You know what? Dune. Dune. If you like the movie or not, the books are really good. Dune, I've really, really, really enjoyed Dune. That would be a good one. What other books have I enjoyed? The Harry Potter world's nice. Chronicles of Narnia. Anything Tolkien, Middle Earth, great stuff. Franchise-wise, TV-wise, Stargate. Stargate the movie and the TV shows I thought were fantastic. Firefly is good, but it's short. There's not that much content. To have something like we had with Star Wars, it's hard to replace Star Wars. But there is other good stuff out there. You just need to go find it. I've said this before on the podcast. Bone, the comic book series. Buy the big trade paperback. Honestly, buy it. It is worth it. And then once you buy that, you'll get all the little side trade paperbacks that come with it. He wrote 3 children's novels or young adult novels, Quest for the Spark, that I thought were really good. But there's some suggestions there for you. Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. I've talked about it before on the podcast. I really like the Wheel of Time. It does drag for about 4 books, which sucks. But I thought that was a pretty good series. I mentioned Harry Potter already. Yeah, that kind of stuff. I think there's a lot of good stuff out there that you can check out. So Kevin J. Anderson's Saga of the Seven Sons isn't bad. You know, it's not the best, but I do enjoy him as an author. I'm a little biased, though, because I like Kevin J. Anderson. And I haven't read his sequel to Saga of the Seven Sons yet because the 3rd book hasn't come out. And I will not read a series unless I have all 3, or the 3rd one's about to come out because I can't stand waiting for the next novel. But there's a few ideas for you. What's the best place to get used Star Wars books on the cheap? The best place is check your flea market. Check your antique store. Check garage sales. I actually have a stack of books behind me that I found from antique stores. I found hardbacks, New J Order, the 2-in-1 exclusive book club hardbacks that sell for like 20, 30 bucks. You know, 30 a pop. I bought it for $4. Okay, I bought both of them for $6. So I bought both of them for $3 each. Great stuff. I've got some other stuff too. I bought a book that's worth 75 bucks, a Wizard of the Coast novel for like 15. You know, it's one of those supplemental books that cost like $90, and I got it for 15. And that's all antiques and flea markets, and because they'll have books galore. And just start checking, and you will see someone gave away their book collection, especially now they thought, well, the new stuff's out, this stuff's not canon anymore, so I'm getting rid of it. Eat it up. That's the cheapest place. Other than that, there's of course eBay. I haven't played the West End Games miniature game. I would love to, though. Again, my group is all for RPG. We just haven't gotten around to it. We just don't meet enough. Whenever we meet, it's going to be a board game night. Eventually, yes, I would love to get some RPG going on. I would love to get West End Game stuff going on, too. Are you asking Saturday Morning Sam Flange or Prince of the Universe podcast right here on my live show? What do I think about the Star Fox EU? You know, a lot of people ask me about that. You know, and I didn't really keep up with Star Fox that much. But I'm guessing he had a great expanded Universe, because everyone keeps talking to me about that. But you know what? I'll ask the guys on Saturday Morning Sound Flange. Well, that'll be a question for them. I'll ask them about Star Fox. Yeah. I when someone said, "Do I see similarities between the Bible and Star Wars?" And yeah, there's obviously some stuff there, but George, I think, even says at one time he borrowed from the Bible. I mean, the Force, right? May the Force be with you. You know, the Spirit of the Lord be with you is basically, you know, where he got that from a Christian greeting. So yeah, obviously there's a lot of strong connections there. Have I thought about reviewing any other series that I love to read or watch? Goku, that's great. Maybe. You know, on the podcast, I review just about all the books, and I am, especially in Prince of the Universe, I'm reviewing all the books and all the series that I like. Like right now, we just did DC Comics. And so I talked about my love of DC Comics back in really it was in the 90s and early 2000s. And so I'm doing that through the podcast right now. That's good material for the podcast because I can talk for about an hour on that. And I don't know, once Matt's Expanded Universe is done, maybe, we'll have to see. I don't know. It's a good idea. Ooh, Flash Gordon. I'd love to read those Flash Gordon strips. That's one thing. Right now on my list of books to read, I don't even read that back there, but I want to reread Sherlock Holmes Adventures again. I used to love it as a kid, and I want to read them again. So I like that old stuff. I hear the Aliens comic books are really good. Battlestar Galactica, yeah. Green Lantern. Wow, y'all giving a lot of good ideas here. How different do I think the prequels would have been if Sam Jackson would have acted more like himself or as Nick Fury? Again, that goes back to just a bad director. I think Samuel Jackson could have been a better Mace Windu if he would have gotten some better direction. Remember, folks, a director really does make a difference. You see actors who are great actors, but yet when they're in certain movies, they just don't do it for you. Sometimes that is the director, because the director's not telling them what to do, how to react, and how to respond, and it comes across wrong on the stage. Look at Bill Murray in Aloha. Yes, I've seen Aloha. And Bill Murray is not good in that. Not good at all. And he's good at everything. I blame that on the director. Okay, last one I'm answering. Would I ever do a video series about my Stratomatic base game? Something you... live games. Oh, gosh. By the way, Mod, I talked about Batman vs. Superman and Saturday Morning Sound Flange. You can check that out. We talked about it a few weeks ago. A live playthrough for my... As you can see right here, my board. I have a game going on right now, actually. I had to stop it for this podcast. But a live one? I don't know. I mean, some of you folks actually have characters in here. Some of the people I get to know and talk to actually made you a character. Hope you don't mind. Don't sue me for copyright. But I've got my own little Stratomatic baseball game, and I love this game. It's honestly one of my favorite board games of all time. Because you can do a lot of solo playing, you can make up your own characters, basically make up your own teams, which I have. I've developed 2 different leagues now. I'm playing through a season. We're at the end of week 5. In fact, this is the last 3 innings of week 5, and then I'm going to go into week 6. I don't do them once a week. Right now I am playing them once a week, but I can do 2 weeks at one time. A live playthrough for a Stratomatic game I think would be extremely boring because you wouldn't know the characters. And after a while, it's just my roles and who gets hits and who gets bases. But you know what? Maybe it would be fun if I did this. Let me finish my season, first off. And that's a great idea. Because then I can maybe do a contest for anyone who wants baseball and wants me to, you know, put you in the game. I could probably put all you in the game. That would be kind of fun. And put you on 2 different teams. No. Have a team EU versus a team, you know, New Cannon. Oh, they put Leland Chee and Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni and Chuck Wendig on one side and maybe all the EU authors on the next. That would be cool in a weird, twisted way. Baseball Stratomatic, right? Would you even want to watch that? That'd be weird. I don't know. Anyway, though, someday I'll feature it. People keep asking, Matt, are you going to review Stratomac Baseball since you love it so much? Yeah, but my game is so... I created it on my own. It's a hodgepodge of different games right now. If you bought Stratomac Baseball, you'd be pissed. You'd be like, this isn't the game that Matt showed us. No, because I have I'm borrowing from 3 different games right now, I think, Anyway, all right, Team EU would dominate, that is for sure. All right. Oh, yeah, great questions. Me and Bruce live. I would love to have Bruce on the. I'd love to have Bruce do the live Q&A with me. And, Mikey from Saturday Morning Sam Flange asked about it. I thought I need Mikey here on this too. I think that'd be fun to have some Saturday Morning Sam Flange people on this. Have them answer some questions for a difference, huh? All right, folks. That's all the time I have. Again, thank you everyone who is watching. I really appreciate this. It's always fun to do these. Once a month is good for me. Once a week would probably be a little bit too much and we'd run out of questions, right? But I always have fun. Thank you so much for everything. And I guess I will see you guys later.